Good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Fordyce's BMW M3 E30 League here with NXTGEN Racing. I'm Jack TM53, your commentator on this league as always throughout season 20. We're at round 9 and the Australian circuit of Bathurst in these brilliant cars. Now, as you can see, qualifying already occurred just last week, and it was NXTGEN Les who, surprisingly, not really, took pole position, the newly crowned champion, celebrating with a little bit of a chrome gold livery on the right hand side of his car there, you could see. But Les took pole. Fordyce was alongside him in second place on that front row. Third was Mahanesta. How the grid has formed peculiarly, rather, I should say. The American on the second row. He is on the left hand side in terms of how the grid approaches turn 1. Fourth, Rally Matt. Fifth was Bruce Lee Harding. Sixth, Joey Dunlop 3. Danzo was 7th, with Tim with a cracking effort in qualifying to start in 8th place. Traumatic Dave on the back row 9th, and Dominator 3 rounded out the 10. So let's get this underway in terms of the race. 20 minutes on those racing hard compound tyres. We will see the revs rise very quickly to see who gets off to the best start as they approach this brilliant track. Here comes Les's revs as they come towards the start of the race. Away they go at Bathurst. Looks like a really good start from the front row, particularly for Fordyce. He's had a really good launch. They're going to be side by side going into turn 1. It's going to be Fordyce who just about gets his nose ahead as they go through turn 1. There's Mahanesta in 3rd place. Rally Matt just in behind. They come into a slipstream train effectively. Dramatic Dave with a brilliant start. He's up to 7th, but he's been challenged by Danzo. Tim's gone backwards. He's in 10th as we watch the cars go up through the hill now for the first time. Les looking towards the inside line. Can he pull it off on the brakes? He goes a little bit later on the brakes. He's on the inside of the curb. Both of these drivers giving each other room. Fordyce running it over the exit curb, but he keeps the lead importantly. So Fordyce takes the lead at the start. Good news for him. The first time he's led for a number of races. Les is 2nd. There's Mahanesta in 3rd. Rally Matt 4th. Joey Dunlop up to 5th. Oh, getting a bit sideways out of the complex. And it's going to allow Bruce Lee Harding a little opportunity up the inside through the right hander over the crest, which he gets through indeed. Nicely done from Bruce Lee Harding. There's a bit of a gap back to Dave, Dominator, Danzo and Tim, who's just following in behind. But Fordyce, as they go over the mountain and start to descend down the hill, he leads the way. Good opening gambit for him. He's got a little bit of a gap as well. That's Mahanesta and Les are going to go sideways through the chicane. Into the wall goes Mahanesta. Les goes through. But Rally Matt now tries to make a move. Running outside, he's sideways, and into the wall goes Rally Matt. It's all exceptionally messy. Bruce Lee's managed to come out of it in 5th. Joey Dunlop's up to 4th. Mahanesta was sideways into the wall. He's somehow recovered. He's put an alternative livery on his car, and Les identifying that he did wrong there. He lets Mahanesta through into 2nd, but it's all carnage going through the downhill section at the chicane. Contact between Les and Mahanesta sent him round. Unfortunately, Rally Matt's gone backwards. Has promoted Joey Dunlop up to 4th. Good for him. Bruce Lee in 5th. There's Traumatic Dave side by side with Danzo, going down the chase into the right hander. Traumatic Dave gave a lot of room, but Danzo had backed out of it already. So the chaos behind has allowed Fordyce to escape up the road. Can he take a race win? Be a brilliant result for him if he could. Fordyce, looking at the season so far, he hasn't had a race win. He's been involved in championship fights in the last number of seasons. He's not involved particularly in this one so far this season, unfortunately for him, now that Les has got the crown. But he would like a race victory, that's absolutely certain, of course. But he's still got a long way to go. Opening lap done. Mahanesta's in 2nd in that black and blue livery. He's changed the base colour of his car. Still got the classic most wanted livery though, as he chucks the car through into Quarry Bend. As Les in 3rd. Oh, Mahanesta's hit the wall. He just went on the curb. We saw the end of that, and he's going to get swamped by Bruce Lee. Will Joey get past him as well? Going into the cut-in, which he does. Hits the wall on the way through. But Mahanesta just clipped that curb on the outside of Quarry Bend and sent him into the wall. Joey Dunlop has incredibly got a penalty. It takes some doing to cut a corner in the mountain section. But Joey Dunlop running in 4th place, as I said. in the last round. Joey Dunlop, he hasn't had a podium this season. His best result so far in the championship was 5th place. Oh, he's just gone onto the grass. Coming through McPhillamy Park. He's just about held all together. Gets on the curb again. Mehanesta there, just tracking him. Rally Matt's back up to 6th. Danzo 7th. He goes sideways through the S's. Into the dipper. And Traumatic Dave just flicking the car through. Tim running well in 9th. And there's Dominator 3 just at the back in 10th. Fordyce has gone and up the road though. He's got a nice gap to Les at the moment. 4 seconds after the opening lap and 3/4 effectively as they go down the Conrod Straight. Bruce Lee's in 3rd. He avoided all the chaos to begin with. He's done well to get himself there. Be nice to see himself back on the podium. Joey's being threatened by Mehanesta on the brakes in that imperious looking black and blue car. It has to be said, it's a striking livery. Mehanesta making it look almost more bold than what it had been from that old classic Most Wanted livery. But he's moved into 4th as he cuts the car through Murray's. Got to be careful of the curbs on the exit though, does Mehanesta. He doesn't want to go round again. Rally Matt's found his speed. 2:22.5 on that last lap. Almost 2.5 seconds quicker than Joey. And even quicker than Mehanesta for that matter, although Mehanesta did hit the wall on the lap prior. Then there's a gap back to Danzo. He's got Traumatic Dave following in his wheel tracks. The two hosts of the lobby together, rather appropriately, around this Australian circuit. Danzo so far, he's doing well through the season. He's had a couple of decent results. His best being 6th place a number of times. Traumatic Dave, we know he can be more in the fight further through the field. He's down in 8th. Not a good qualifying for him. Tim running in 9th. Setting lap times not too far away from Joey Dunlop as he just goes wide. At the cutting. Got away with it. There's a couple of more little touches of the barrier and he might find himself facing the wrong way later in the race as Dominator flicks the car through over Griffin's mount. He's got a bit of work to do if he wants to catch Tim. Fordyce picked up a penalty. I'm assuming he's gone and done that through the S's. Maybe he just took a little bit too much of the inside curb. Les with the fastest lap last time around, 2:20.6. It's 4/10 quicker than Fordyce, but it'll be slow progress for the newly crowned M3 champion. As he's celebrating, like I said earlier, with that gold half of the car. Gold signifying 1st place. No one can catch him. Quite comfortably clear. He's setting another purple sector. Let's see how everyone else is getting on in terms of lap times. There's Bruce, a tenth slower. Mehanesta's going 4 seconds quicker, obviously. Joey's improving as well. He's got Rally Matt all over his trumpet. Traumatic Dave's got past Danzo. He's going quicker as well. Tim, as he comes over that sector beam time just here, going a little bit slow. He's lost a lot of time actually, as Tim. You can see that in the gap that's formed and closed between himself and Dominator. Oh, yellow flag. Danzo's gone off at the chase. He's managed to keep his M3 pointing in a straight line. The hard tyre is not easy to use around this circuit. The drivers were saying in the pre-race lobby last week that they were finding it difficult to just keep the car in a straight line around this Australian track. It's certainly not an easy one, as Tim can testify over the years of his Group A racing in Project Cars 2. He's well acquainted with the track, and Tim could tell you a number of stories about how hard this circuit is. Very technical, very flowing, as he picks up a penalty for his cut at turn 1 there. Fordyce still clearing his penalty. Set fastest lap that time around at 2:20.3, so he's every match for Les in the opening 8 minutes of the race so far. Ooh, Les with a bit of a hit in the wall there as he came through the corner. Not ideal. Certainly wouldn't recommend it as a racing line. But Les in second. He doesn't need to worry too much about his progress. He is crown champion. He'd love more victories, of course, to round out the season, but not something he needs to trouble himself with. He probably won't push as hard as he would have done had it been for championship fight. Or Bruce Lee sideways, going through the S's. This is going to bring Mehanesta back into the fight. He's hit the wall, in fact, as Bruce Lee coming through. And look at the momentum that's been gained from Mehanesta despite going off the track. He's right with Bruce Lee now. There's a little look into Forrest's elbow. And Bruce Lee sideways, getting the tyres spinning up and kicking up some smoke. And Mehanesta's close enough at this moment to bring that gap down to Bruce. Can he make any sort of movement towards Bruce? He comes towards the chase for the fourth time of asking on the brakes a little bit later. But Bruce Lee not feeling the need to defend. Everyone else a little bit spaced out. Currently, Joey's on his own. Dramatic Dave's being trapped by Rally Matt. So Rally Matt's made a mistake somewhere. You can see Dramatic Dave just struggling on the brakes. The ABS, you see Rally Matt giving it his all to try and gain back some ground. And keep an eye on that fight as well. But this one at the moment, Mehanesta looking for a move at turn 1. Decides better of it. Will use the run up the mountain straight if he can get a good exit out of Hell Corner. Which he has done. He's close enough to the slipstream, but he's not gaining just yet. Now you can see it coming into effect as Rally Matt moves past Dramatic Dave. You see the gap just not closing enough. Too late for Mehanesta to make a move into Quarry Bend. At the halfway stage of the race now, this lap, especially long in the M3, is probably the longest of the season. At 2 minutes 20, effectively on the hard tyres in any case. But Mehanesta happily driving around at the moment. His recovery has been strong. It'd be even stronger if he can get past Bruce Lee, but we know Bruce Lee's no slouch. He certainly wants to defend his position. A driver who races hard and fair in the number 69. See a couple of drivers unable to make last week's race. A little twitch going through McPhillamy part for Bruce. He's gone sideways again through the S's. He's not as comfortable on this sequence as Mehanesta is. You can see how sideways Bruce Lee goes, but his approach this time around, contrary to what I've just said, has actually paid dividends. He's opened the gap quite visually there between himself and the American we're on board with. So Bruce Lee buys himself a little bit of time, but a breathing room for him to utilise. Les got a couple of penalties to try and deal with, 0.8 worth, as does Fordyce of half a second. The gap closed on that last lap. There was a second difference. I'd estimate a little mistake from Fordyce. It's cost him a bit of time. Still 8 minutes left in this race to go. And the champion just clearing his penalty going into the final corner there at Murray's. Whether he will decide to push as much compared to what he did earlier. 223.3, obviously clearing that penalty, and 221 flat, so 2.3. Gap certainly ebbing and flowing between the front two. But Les certainly the star of the season, but not taking the crown in style just yet. Not celebrating it too much. He's still got to try and find a couple of more wins under his belt if he can towards the end of the season. Obviously one more round after Bathurst. You can see Les really pushing the car despite being in second place and being champion. Bruce is still in front of Mehanesta. Mehanesta is charged just at the minute, being stifled by Bruce Lee. Certainly putting a good effort in at present. Rally Matt up to 5th again. He's had a very turbulent race as Rally Matt, but he'll be a factor in the reverse grid race, which we'll come to shortly, as he hits the wall going into the cut and just coming out of it. And a bit of past history really to note about Rally Matt around this circuit. He also, like Fordyce, like many of the drivers in this lobby, they have competed in the Group A's around here, and Rally Matt being one, never really gelled with this circuit. Wasn't one of his stronger tracks for Rally Matt, unfortunately. Never finished on the podium in the Group A's back in Project Cars 2. But that's certainly not to say he's a slouch by any means. You see as he goes sideways through the S's. But a 21.8 there, showing that Rally Matt's certainly capable of scoring some big results. Rally Matt has won a race this season as well, let's not forget. Certainly shown his quality a number of times this season with a couple of pole positions and podiums. He hasn't won since the second round of the season, way back at Dragon Trail Seaside. Well, he's running in 5th. Joey Dunlop running in 6th. Danzo in 7th. He's back with Traumatic Dave once again. The two hosts right together. And Danzo just taking it in 2nd gear through the chase, whereas Traumatic Dave taking it in 3rd gear, so different driving styles present there. Mehanesta's got through up to 3rd. We haven't seen it. Bruce with a little penalty as he made a mistake somewhere on circuit, but Mehanesta's recovery back to 3rd. Good going from the American. But there's still 5 minutes to go, a quarter of the race remaining, and you know that Bruce Lee will certainly not give up in his fight to get another podium. Rally Matt's still in 5th place. This is the gap we're watching really, and Mehanesta, after being the attacker, becomes the defence unit, so to speak, as they charge through Sulman Park and then coming through McPhillamy Park now. And the mindset switches with less than 5 minutes to go. Mehanesta, he's got his podium. Oh, he's gone through the S's of the grass a little bit. He's just about covered Bruce Lee off through the corner. But Bruce Lee will smell blood. He's got that opportunity. Look how close to the back he is of that American. He's just not got the exit though, and Mehanesta should be in a position to defend that pretty comfortably down the Conrod Straight. Should be fine with that. But Bruce Lee applying that pressure. You see Mehanesta weaving to the other side of the road. He'll probably switch to the left hand side over the crest, which he is doing, as you can tell, just trying to break the toe. But there's still just a couple of laps remaining. Can Bruce Lee regain that spot, or will it go the way of Mehanesta? Rally Matt finds himself alone in 5th, still sideways coming out of that corner, of course, coming out of the chase. Definitely pushing his utmost. Joey's in 6th, Danzo still in 7th. He's actually pulled away from Dave. Dave having a bit of a issue coming out of that corner, coming out of the chase. Dominator's moved into 9th, 2:25.6 his best lap. And Tim, ooh, a very interesting approach to the chase for him. Very sideways going through the corner and on the brakes as well, but he gathered it all together. Kept it out of the barrier, which is exactly what he needed to do. But still, he'll be on the reverse grid pole. He'll like the fact that he can do that. It's not the first time he's had a reverse grid pole this season, but it'll be a little bit more difficult for the drivers to overtake through Bathurst. It's not an easy circuit through the mountain section. If he can get ahead into turn 1 first, he might just be able to hold on for at least a lap, which might not sound like a lot for some people watching, but for Tim, that'd be quite an achievement, especially around such a large track such as this one. It's actually setting a personal best sector time there. And can he get into the 2:25s? Before Fish will have one more lap after this one. He's driven comfortably so far through the race. He got away very early on, and that pretty much set the tone. He's not got fastest lap. That's gone the way of Les, who's got into the 2-minute 19s. Actually took 1.6 out of 4 Fish on that last lap. And he's going even quicker again. Is the newly crowned champion. flicks the car through the right-hander on the brakes for the chase. Looking at the gap, it's about, I'd say at the minute, it's probably 4 and a bit seconds, maybe even 5. So he's going to have to take a mistake from Fordyce on this final lap. But he's been consistently quick all the way through the races, Fordyce. He's just driven the race he needs to do. He's even set his own personal best sector time there with a 2:20 flat. Les only a tenth quicker, so Fordyce just responding to the late challenge from Les, just to tell Les that this is his race. Not going to make any mistakes from me, but Bruce Lee's got back past Mehanester. We haven't seen it, but Mehanester is all over the back on the grass. Coming out of turn 1, Bruce Lee was sideways. We'll ride on board with Mehanester. He's going to have to do this the long way round at Quarry Bend. It's certainly possible of doing that. Mehanester draws along the outside of the fallout backed car. Can he do anything on the outside at Quarry Bend? He's going to have to brake a little bit later, which he doesn't do. Bruce Lee manages to hold that line and covers him off. Mehanester trying to do the switchback, but he's not going to have the momentum. And Bruce Lee will just shut the door, which he does indeed, going through the cutting and up towards Griffin's Mount. So Mehanester putting the pressure on. He's just not quite there yet. Bruce Lee's fought back. It is confirmed as the final lap on lap 9. And Tim will see the checkered flag. He's just coming towards the line now. But it's this fight that we're watching. Bruce Lee's gone wide going through Sulman Park. It's just going to give the psychological advantage to Mehanester as they come into the S's. Bruce Lee just taking it steady as Mehanester's car was unsettled. Well, Bruce has got a really good sequence. In fact, he's done really well out of that corner. Out of the S as he goes. And he just needs to make sure that Forest Elbow... Oh, he's hit the wall going into Forest Elbow. He's sideways again. A little bit of puff of smoke coming off that rear right tyre. But he's just about got the advantage he needs in terms of defending, going towards the chase. This is the final lap. Oh, there's a driver round. It's Danzo. Dramatic Dave. Someone went round on track then. I think it was Joey Dunlop actually. But we'll cut back to the front because it's Fordyce who's going to take his first win of the season at Bathurst. A brilliant result for him. He crosses line and takes fastest lap right at the end. Can Les respond? He can't. So Fordyce gets the win and fastest lap point as well. What about Bruce Lee, Harden and Mehanester? He's just going to hold on as Bruce. He gets him back at the line. So it's Bruce Lee who takes another podium for the season. Mehanester will take 4th. Rally Matt, a race of attrition in terms of spinning around, but he's got away with it. He's going to come home in 5th, and he'll be a factor to count in for the reverse grid race shortly. Joey Dunlop coming towards the line. Driven pretty well as Joey Dunlop. Looks like he's actually going to set a personal best final lap here as he comes towards the line. He does indeed with a 23.7. There's Danzo. I think might have made a little bit of a mistake on that lap. Traumatic Dave will come to the line. Obviously not gelling particularly well around here at the Bathurst circuit. And last but not least, in terms of those on the lead lap, Dominator slides into Maurice. He goes a bit deep into the grass, but he'll survive to tell the tale, and he will come out for a good haul of points in 9th place. So good result for Fordyce, taking his first win of the season at Bathurst, and Les following home in 2nd with Bruce Lee just about holding on to 3rd place on the final lap. I will stop this stream for the time being and I'll move on to race 2 in a few moments time. Do tune straight back in to the JackTM53 channel on Twitch. But as always, wherever you might be in the big wide world, have a good one and see you shortly.